All right, everybody, what's going on, man? How y'all doing? Welcome to SWAC Smoke episode number 125. It's your tour guide around the SWAC Seawells, holding it down today, man. The big soldier, he under the weather today, so he won't be here with us. But you got tour guide around here doing it up, and we're gonna do what we do, man. You know whether it's solo or with the team, man. You still got the rock, so we're gonna still do what we do. Got the link in the chat if you want to come through and give your thoughts on anything. It's wide open. Of course, we're going to talk some TSU football because, I mean, this situation won't end. Willie Simmons heading from FAMU to Duke. We got basketball. We got um, anything else, any and everything, man. The SWAC world don't stop. Um, we had a game, a SWAC basketball game with Grambling women's team where they just destroyed their opponent. So I'm gonna share my thoughts on that. Not that it's that big of a deal because it's a non-conference game, but it's all good, man. And we're gonna just do what we do. So first and foremost, man, how y'all doing out there? Let me know in the chat. How y'all doing? Hold it down. Um, exactly. As the swag turns, man, this is like a soap opera. It never stops. You think you got a handle on it, and you sit back and relax, and then you come back and you find something else crazy that happens. So sometimes I like to just go away from my Twitter and everything, and then when I come back, something else then popped off. So let's go ahead and I guess we'll go ahead and start off with the Willie Simmons move. I mean, of course, you saw everybody's been covering it. He heads the Duke as the running back coach. He did work with Manny Diaz, who is the Duke head coach, when they were at Middle Tennessee State. He said he wanted to kind of start his journey to being a FBS head coach, a Power Five head coach. And so, I guess he feels like this is the best way to do it, to take that first step, is to kind of um, put yourself in the door, so to speak. Now, whether you feel the same or not, that's always open to interpretation. But you can't knock the man for trying to make a move for what he does, for what he felt was the right thing. I mean, he did what he set out to do at FAMU. He took the program, when he got there, and left it better than he found it. So you can only ask for so much. Celebration Bowl, SWAC champs, the whole nine this year. Only two SWAC losses in their 3 years in the conference. I would have liked to see him bring his team and run it back, but you can never stop somebody's progress. Whether somebody is up to it, up to making a move, that's always on them. And I'm always happy to see somebody be successful. And it's always good to know that you got those talented coaches in our realm. Now, it is great to be able to hold on to them, but sometimes certain things pull harder than other things. And the Duke move was a solid move. So we'll see what happens. Wish him the best. Like I said, I would have loved to see him run it back, but that don't mean FAMU gonna fall off the cliff. We got the big soldier in the house holding it down. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all hit that like button and subscribe while y'all here. Just keep on doing it, and we'll see. Because now that's another job open in the SWAC. This has to be the most topsy turvy couple years in the SWAC. I mean, basically every team in the conference, with the exception of Alabama A&M, has had a new coach in the last couple years. So this is like a new journey every year. It's like every year we have multiple new coaches, and this year we're gonna have what, 5 new coaches. So it's I feel like there's no consistency right now in the league, and it makes it tough for the product to continue to grow because you got so much turnover everywhere, and that means you're gonna have a lot more seasons, especially in the West, of the last man standing. at some point, somebody gonna have to step up in the West and take the reins and hold on to them. This every year, just coming down to the last week or the last game, and whoever makes it out that mess is the champ. At some point, somebody in the West is gonna have to stand up and put together a team and a program that can take that division and get a hold of it. So now, your most, in terms of at that school, now in the West, your most tenured coach is Bubba McDowell, and he's only been there since 2022. So there's still so much turnover, that there's still so much uncertainty. And at some point, I would love for the carousel to stop. Now, like I said, this situation is different. This is a coach that got promoted. So that changes things. What's going on out there in D-Town, Mr. Moore? What's happening out there in Rowlett, Texas? Welcome to the show. That now that means we have we'll see. FAMU was recruiting well. They brought in a ton of guys. They hit the transfer portal hard. Some of those guys are staying, which is a good indictment on the staff that's still there. And a couple of those guys are deciding that they want to look elsewhere. And that's what you get sometimes with transfers. You don't have any. A guy always is on the market until he show up at your school. So that's always going to be a turning point for some guys. But I thought they did a pretty decent job of holding on to the guys that they got. And now it'll be interesting to see what move they make. And if they make a move before Texas Southern do, which is another situation to me that I just, we talked about this a long time last week. And I don't understand what's going on. For anybody who is in the realm of TSU and they know more than me, man, please enlighten me, because, we talked, like I said, we talked about this last week. Oh, what's up, Los J? What's going on? We talked about this last week, and, you figure there's going to be, some kind of resolution, but now it seems like there's more candidates. So now the list is getting longer. Now, the process is being stretched out even further. Which, if y'all don't know nothing, then nobody know nothing, because I at some point I think that you need to figure out this process. It should not be this hard. Where does the blame go in this situation? Because it's got to be somebody, whether it's the board, or the AD, or whoever, who, everybody's not gonna get their way. And I think that's one of the biggest problems, is that everybody's trying to get their way, and everybody's not thinking about the program itself and the health and the life of the program. They're thinking about, other things, and they're thinking about them getting what they want. And this was a program that last year, after the last week of the 2022 season, this team was on the cusp of a SWAC division championship. So you go from that to the season that you had this year to this. This is kind of one of those things where people started looking and be like, well, that's Texas Southern, what you expect. So I would love for them to make some things happen, because I think they need some positivity, and they need some solidity, and they need some clarity right now. I think the longer it go, I just think it's an unnecessary thing. I think at this point, personally, I feel like you fumbled McNair, whether that's one of those things, whether if it's true or not. That I feel like a lot of people feel. I think you fumbled that. Maybe you can get it back, but I think that was right there in your lap, and you basically bobbled it and made it harder than it needed to be. So if all of this turns around and ends up at Fred McNair, this is one of the worst job searches ever. And I follow Southern, and we had horrible job searches. So I think oh, so they're waiting for him to get his degree. Okay, so now that tells you you're in a situation where you kind of handcuffed by this person because they don't even meet the qualifications out the gate. That's something that you should know. That's something that you should have vetted. That's something that, if I mean, if you don't have it, man, why, better luck next time. It's like I'm not gonna hold up what we doing for you when you're not even a guy that's qualified on the field for this job. Now, whether connections and off the field stuff, money and all of that, that's always something that's gonna be there. When you have these kind of guys. Um, I just don't think that this is a good look to have somebody kind of holding up the process because you're um, waiting for this guy to get what he need. I mean, if that was the case, you know, I just don't, I just don't understand it. And the more I talk about it, the less I understand it. And it's just, it's confusing to me, why he got, these couple people can hold up a process this long. Um, and whoever else comes in, are these people going to be a problem for that guy? Are they going to be on board with, once they ever do resolve this, are those people going to be on board with the new guy? And then if it flips and everybody had to come to a concession about Johnson, are those people who had to kind of change their mind, are they going to be on board with what he does? So I feel like no matter how this situation turns out, I think you're going to always have some kind of turmoil because somebody's going to have to compromise and give up what they want for the team to advance. And, a lot of time when that happens, that person going to be waiting in the wings. That's that I told you so person. That's that person who going to always be skeptical of any move that this person make. It's going to, yeah, it's just, it's just one of the things that now you have people who aren't football people making that move, which is fine for them to have input, but for them to kind of hold up something that probably was as close to a done deal as you could get, I think that, that's something that should never happen. And hopefully, once this happens, it never happens again anywhere because this is a situation that's been drawn out a long time. You got signing day coming up in a month. You got portal action. You got all of this stuff going on. You got to start getting your staff together and your team together. And I think sometimes these jobs are made harder than they need to be. And this is one of the situations where I think that you need to kind of keep it simple. The KISS method. Just keep it simple, stupid. Just kind of just do what you do and get the guy in that's going to do the job for you. Because if you're going off of one thing, you can find yourself in a situation where you're falling further behind because you bring in a coach who may not even be able to get the job done. And turning over coaches is always a recipe for a disaster. It's a recipe for not having a stable program, and that's what you see in other places. People wanting coaches to, in their first year to go to a championship, win the title. You got people, in their, want this in their first year, want that in the first year. Don't want to give anybody time to build a program. So everything is accelerated now. When you look at the portal, and all of that, everybody's accelerated. Everybody's looking at making it happen now because you can go out there and grab guys who can come in and play right away, or you hope they come in and play right away. That's just one of them tough situations. Yeah, I mean that's my biggest issue is the people who don't need to have power in those situations are flexing power in those situations, and they make it hard for anybody to do anything. And like I said, I agree. I think at this point, he cut his losses, and either if he try to find him something, to hold him over, or whatever. Because at this point, how long are you waiting? I don't know how. I don't know how much his phone is blowing up from anybody else. And maybe he getting other opportunities, and at some point you gotta cut your losses. At some point you gotta look at it like, I can't keep telling these people no when you over here not doing what you need to do. Am I gonna get caught up in a situation where I don't have anything? And at the same time, if you do get it, are you gonna have the support of everybody? And that's what I was just saying. Are you gonna have the support of everybody? Because those people didn't get what they want. So this situation, man, hopefully it comes. Hopefully it comes to a head in the near future, like the next few days. Honestly, hopefully the next few days this thing gets resolved and TSU can start to move forward. Because you, as much as we say it a lot, TSU is a program that really should be um, a lot further than where they are. And of course, it doesn't always happen that way. But at some point, that giant or that sleeping, whatever you want to call them, maybe they won't wake up, and sometimes that's a problem. But I think, yeah, I feel the same way. So, I think at some point everybody got to be accountable. At some point, people got to step aside and let the people who are in the position to do the job. And that's where this whole thing is coming from. So this to me is just one of the situations that should have never happened at all. This is easily avoidable. This is making something out of nothing, and this is just making an issue out of things that don't need to be an issue. So hopefully, like I said, this thing gets resolved, and we can move forward. Because at this point, we beating a dead horse. I mean, I don't, like I say, we talked about this at length last week, and we talking about it again. And hopefully next week we don't be talking about this portion of it. Hopefully this time next week we're talking about somebody taking a job, and TSU moving forward and what they expect from the team itself. Um, I just think at this point, man, I don't know what else to say about this situation. Um, I think we just, kind of have to just, let it go, and hopefully, we don't have to have, any more letters come through from the National Alumni Association, which to me is something that you should never have to have your alumni association tell you to either, do it or get off the pot. It's just getting worse and worse for no reason. So hopefully, like I said, this situation can get fixed, and we move on. Because right now it's just not a good look. Well, I mean, at this point, you don't even, at this point, looking at it on the field product, at this point, you don't even know what to expect. You don't know what this thing is gonna be. So I think it's hard to say, where they're gonna end up at. Are they gonna lose guys? Um, Luckily, the portal window is closed. So you're not gonna lose any more guys, at least not right now. But are guys gonna buy in after all of this? It's just a tough situation, and I hate it for the people involved who don't have anything to really do with the foolishness of this situation. So hopefully, they can get this thing under control and get it fixed, because it just doesn't need to be this hard, man. Sometimes you make things harder than they are, and it don't really need to be that hard. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough thing for whoever takes that job. Yeah, I think the next portal window comes. I can't remember the exact date, but the next portal window does come open, um, either before the spring or after the spring. So there will be another opportunity for guys to hit it. But at this point, I think you need to get somebody in there to kind of rally the troops and let people know, what's going on. Give people the opportunity to get, to start this process. So hopefully, this thing works out well and it gets solved. Um, yeah, that's another good question. What's the feeling of the coaches on staff? Are they working with the assumption that they just kind of holding on, or are they working, with the understanding that regardless of what happens, they out of here. And if they working with that mindset, then it's gonna be hard for people to get out there and actively recruit, because why would you recruit for somebody when you're not gonna be there? So hopefully, they get some kind of understanding and resolution to the situation, because this has been going on since what, December 15 or something like that. So let's let this thing go, man. Let's move on from it, and let's try to find other things to kind of talk about, because talking about this week in and week out, it gets a little tough. um I do want to step away from this for a minute to talk about the Legacy Bowl, and that's one of those things that I love it. I've been to both editions of the game, and I hopefully, God willing, be at the one this season. Is on February 24th in New Orleans. So if you're in the area and you can check it out, tickets are on sale. So make sure y'all check it out. But I wanted to kind of go over some of the guys who are SWAC guys who are in this game so far. There's still other announcements to be made, but running down the list, we have Bubba Adams from Alabama State, Sunday Otter Anderson from Grambling, Ryan Atkins from Pine Bluff, Taj Brown from Southern, Omari Hill Robinson from Bethune-Cookman, Montario Hunt from Alcorn, Isaiah Major from FAMU, Lewis Matthews from Grambling, Jeremy Musa from FAMU, Herb Mulligan from Jackson State, Marcus Riley from FAMU, Jamare Sharif from FAMU, CJ. Oh, that's 2023. All right. So, really, like I say, looking forward to it, man. There's gonna still be a few more guys added to the list, but so far it's a good list. And Davius Richard is playing in this game too, so I definitely want to be there to see that guy in action. Look like the quarterback rooms are going to be a little bit better this season in the game, so that always kind of makes it tough. Um, I haven't seen anything here in terms of any media so far. Only thing I've seen is on Twitter from the official account and from players announcing that they've made it. Um, so hopefully they do start to promote it, because we a little bit more than a month out from the game. And I think last year's attendance, I don't know the numbers, but I felt like last year's attendance was a little bit better than the year before, even though the first year drew a solid crowd. Um, I think this kind of game depends a lot on it depends a lot on your local area. So it's you know with it being the Mardi Gras time and all that kind of stuff, you're gonna have a lot of people who may not be able to go, but if you do have an opportunity to go to this game, I think you should go. I mean, the game last year actually on the field was a little bit better than the year before, which All-Star games are always going to be rough. I mean, you got a bunch of guys who are playing together who hadn't practiced together but for a couple days, and so you're never going to have that real continuity, especially on offense. Defense is typically going to play better because they don't have to do as much. So you're not going to have a lot of spectacular offensive plays, but you will have some. But you're gonna have a good opportunity to see some guys play who you may not be able to see play again, or you can see some guys play who you hadn't seen play. So it's always a good thing. And then on top of that, there's the combine to go with that. So I'm looking forward to being there again, and hopefully having a good time. And we'll talk about this game more as we get closer. Once the list start to fully get out. Just want to give you a heads up on the actual tickets and everything. You have to get them from the Tulane athletic site. Let's see. I wanted to see if they got tickets start at $15. That's in the end zone. They go up to $50 for club seats. Premium West Side seats $25. So not a unreasonable amount of money. I mean, and with the crowd being the way it is, you pay for an end zone ticket. By halftime, you can move around in one of the other seats. So I was just about to talk about that. I was just about to talk about that. I'm gonna start it off with this. Most of our teams have played teams like that. I remember a few years ago, Southern men's basketball team had played a team like that, and had a similar score. I think they held that team to like 18 points or something like that. I don't, I'm not a fan of these kind of games. I mean, you don't really get a lot out of it. I mean, you don't get a lot out of it. I mean, you're getting ready for conference play, so hey, it's a chance to stack a W before that. And that's fine. I do think if you play a game like this should be like your first game or two. So I think it's one of those things, but to have a score like you had, that's not a lot to gain from a game like that, and you can only do so much. 159 to 18 is just that's just rough. I mean, I don't even know how you, as the coach on the other team, I don't know how you even get your team to go on with it. This is a Division II National Christian College Association team, so that's a whole nother realm of athletics. Grambling actually had people with more points than that team did by themselves. There are two players who actually outscored this team by themselves, and two other people who were only 3 points off of it. They jumped out to 34-0 lead, and the team didn't even score until the 2:14 mark of the first quarter. This is rough. Now, I will say the men's team from that school, they played Grambling fairly close. They lost the Grambling. The men's team lost the Grambling by 12. So I don't know if they women's team is that bad, or the men's team is that good. But like I say, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, don't play these kind of teams, because, well, I don't want to say it like that, but I'm not gonna sit there and be critical of it, because we just played a team on Saturday who had 8 guys on their team, no trainer. They coached like he was 12 years old. So I'm not gonna say, when you need, when you're playing all these, non-conference games on the road, you need home games. These kind of teams always come through, like a like a like an odd looking person after 2 o'clock. They're always available. So these kind of teams are always going to beat up, but it doesn't really do you much good, to play these kind of games. You're better off just having a scrimmage and getting the action that way, because you're not gonna get a lot a lot of run from it. Because like if your starters only play 15 minutes, they're not gonna get that much of a run. It's kind of like the Florida Memorial game with Southern last year. The starters played one quarter. It took them 3 weeks to get in sync because you didn't get any game action. It's rough, man. Like I said, we moving on from this game to conference play, so that's good. You can kind of put that to bed. But these are the kind of things that get people's attention who don't normally pay attention to your teams, and that's always a tough thing because this is what people see. They don't see these teams going out and winning these games against D1 opponents, beating Power Five schools. They're not looking at none of it. They need, now how much money they made on that. That's a different question. Probably just enough to get there and back, and probably a meal or something. I would love to see the payouts for basketball for these games, because whether it's a um Southwest Bible College, Ecclesia, or whoever like that, I think you don't really get a lot out of it. Um, I think for the sport of women's basketball right now, to have ESPN put some bread behind it, I think that's good because I think women's basketball is growing. If you look at last year's tournament, they drew some great ratings. Now a lot of that was because of Caitlin Clark, who is a beast. She's a beast. She got her own fan base. All those Iowa people and everybody turned out. I think it's a good step in the right direction. Now, with ESPN putting that money behind it, does that mean they're gonna prioritize it heavily? That's gonna be the interesting thing because right now you have this TV war between ESPN and Fox, and they're both trying to get a stranglehold on college athletics. That's the driving force between all of these Power Five football moves. ESPN and Fox, ESPN and Fox. They jockeying, they trying to snatch whatever. So I think it's a good step in the right direction, especially for women's basketball. Um, the one thing I hope, well, it won't happen because of the way the thing's set up. But I would love for the women's tournament to kind of adjust their schedule, um, because it's kind of odd at times to have your championship game, on like a Sunday or Saturday. So I would love to see that change. But ESPN, if they are willing to really fully promote it, I think it's great. Because I think that women's basketball needs that exposure. Now, I wonder if that's going to impact at some point with CBS's coverage of the men's tournament. Would that be impacted at some point? Um, One thing I do think is detrimental to men's basketball, especially for one bid leagues this season, is the fact that the NIT is not taking the regular season champ anymore if they lost in the tournament. So to me, that robs your conference of a chance to get two postseason bids if your top team falls short. Now, if your top team falls short and you're a one bid league, you got to kind of hope that you can still get in the NIT, which if you remember from back in the days before they did the auto bid for conference champs who didn't win it, it was tough to get in. We used to get teams in from time to time, but you're looking at a team that would have to probably win 23 to 24 games, and have a great regular season, non-conference, and a really great conference season, and also who they lose to in the tournament. So I think that is one of the biggest moves that a lot of people haven't really talked about. Now, I know football is still going on, and football kind of runs the show, but we're getting into basketball now, and I think that's one of those things that I think people need to kind of pay attention to because without without that, we don't get an Alcorn in the tournament in the NIT. Now you're gonna have probably what 24 out of 32 NIT teams is teams with horrible records from power conferences. That's a tournament that nobody wants to watch. They don't even want to watch that. So I don't know why. I know ESPN and everybody who is in charge of NIT is trying to get ratings, but when you have a 6-10 Power 5 team, and they don't make the tournament, they really don't care a lot about it. So that's just rough, man. Yes, y'all, please, if you have opportunity, we're trying to do big things now, man. We're trying to take this show to another level. So if y'all at any point is possible, man, y'all can donate to the show at Cash App $SWAC Talk. Anything will be appreciated, man. We're trying to continue to take steps to get better. So y'all listen to what the big soldier saying here, man. Y'all make sure y'all do what it do, because this is like a second job for us, and we want to continue to get better and bring y'all more stuff. So if you have the opportunity, it would be much appreciated. I love to do this and I love to bring it to you, and so if you would be so kind to show appreciation, I would love it. But we're still gonna do it anyway, because I love SWAC sports and I love doing this. So we're gonna continue. But SWAC basketball conference play starts on Saturday. Got some good games, at least in terms of rivalries and things. Looking at the schedule so far, we have Alcorn at Jackson, FAMU at Bethune-Cookman, Prairie View at Grambling, Texas Southern at Southern, Alabama A&M at Pine Bluff, and Alabama State at Valley. I'll definitely be in the Mini Dome on Saturday, so I never like to miss a chance to see my Jags play TSU in basketball. Typically, it's a good game. Like, I'm interested to see how Southern stacks up once conference play starts, because they've been playing okay ball. I think they've played decently in a couple games. Of course, they had a couple good wins, but they've had some stretches where their shots aren't falling. I think they've been playing good defense. They're still, size is always going to be an issue with Southern. I think they're getting another guy in that's like 6'10", so we'll see if that helps. But the men's side to me is wide open. I think anybody has a chance. On the women's side, right now, I think is Pine Bluff and JSU, kind of neck and neck in the non-conference slate, with Southern, right behind them. You still got Alabama A&M, you still got Grambling, you still got Bama State. You still got teams like that can kind of still make some things happen. We all know that that SWAC play is what drives the car in basketball. So we'll see what happens, man. Like I said, I've been waiting for this time. Football didn't do it for me this year. Football was rough for me personally. So I was ready to dive into basketball, and it's here now. So I'm really ready for that. But to me, I have a simple formula for winning the SWAC. To me, it's easier said than done. But to me, if you can win, you play 9 games on the road, 9 games at home. If you can go 8-1 at home and go like 6-3 on the road, that's a conference championship most years. I mean, there's gonna be teams that only lose two or three games. You're rarely gonna have a team lose 1 game. So you're gonna have to win on the road. The more you lose at home, the more you have to win on the road, and that's tough. In this conference, when you go on the road, anything can happen. No matter who the opponent is, you can get got on the road. I mean, you could go to Valley or somewhere and get ambushed. I mean, it doesn't matter. And then you playing teams like Pine Bluff on the men's side who have three of the top scorers in the league. Offensively, they've been great this season. A team like that playing at home can get hot. That's gonna cause you a lot of issues, and that can send you home with an L. So like I said, this thing right off the gate. I think that this is something to make happen, man. So first week is always interesting. I don't put a lot of stock in the first couple games because teams are kind of rounding in the form coming off of non-conference play, and when you have teams who don't have the best of records, I think that it makes it more imperative, and that's gonna be tough because I always say, and I said it the last couple of years, that's a team that's built for March. Now, whether they make it or not, that's always going to be the challenge. But TSU is a team that's built for March. And when you look at last season, that team had a lot of injuries. That team got in as the 8th seed, which in reality they weren't an 8th seed, but they got in at an 8th seed and they ran through the tournament. Those are the dangerous type of teams that you have to face. And if I was a 1 playing a team like that, that's an 8, that's a matchup I wouldn't want. So, now you got to go through them at some point, but sometimes it's better to catch them after a game because you never know what might happen in the game before, and get them from there. But I think it's gonna be tough to keep them out. It's gonna be tough because year after year this team plays a schedule where they come into conference play, with a bad record, and then they find themselves sitting in a good position, mid-season or in the off-season, not off-season, but mid-season or like right before the tournament, stack up a couple wins and find yourself in the tournament. And that's what they did last year. They were able to kind of steal a couple games late and put themselves in a position to make it and get the that's a tough task. But there's teams that's up for the challenge, and that's what makes this exciting. I will say, look out for Bethune-Cookman. Men and women's basketball, they've been playing pretty well in the non-conference slate right now. Bethune-Cookman's women's team, they have a 9-4 record. They are one of only 2 teams in conference play with winning records right in the conference right now with winning records. They're 9-4. Grambling is 6-5. Jackson State is 5-6. Alabama A&M is 5-7. Prairie View is 4-6. Pine Bluff is 5-8. Alcorn and Southern are both 2-9. Then you have Texas Southern, FAMU, and Valley at Texas Southern and FAMU at 1-10. Valley is 1-12, and Alabama State is 0-11. That's on the women's side. I would love to see those records not be the way they are. I'm a big person to push for more home games. I mean, obviously, you're gonna have to probably do some home and homes with some of those teams. We need more home games, and we need better attendance at those games. That's vital. There's a lot of good talent in the league. I think people need to, if possible, get out and support it. Because that's, I don't like seeing empty gyms. That was the one great thing about when Bama State played USC. They had a great turnout to that game. I hope we see more games like that. Not necessarily getting, power conference teams, but there's a lot of mid-major teams that, we could start to get home games with. And I think we need to explore that more often. Now, of course, you need the money, from those money games to kind of keep things going. So that's always going to be something that's there. It's never going to go away. But if you can kind of put a few more of them non-conference home games in there, I think it'd be better. Some teams haven't played a home game till late in the non-conference. Some get an early game and then don't play again. They're on the road. Multiple games, multiple weeks on the road. It's tough. And when you look at the men's side of things right now, there are no teams with winning records on the men's side in the non-conference. So right now, Southern is 6-7. Bethune-Cookman, Prairie View, Pine Bluff, and Bama State are all 5-8. Jackson State is 4-9. Grambling 3-10. FAMU and Texas Southern are 2-9. Alabama A&M and Alcorn are 1-12, and Valley is 0-13. Those records are going to start to change, but to me, one of the things I measure look at is 20 wins. To me, that 20 wins is a great season. It doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't get you anything, but to me, 20 wins is a good mark to me to look at. It typically means you're going to have a pretty solid non-conference slate, and you're going to have a great conference record. The worse your non-conference record is, the more conference games you have to win to hit that 20-win plateau that I like to look at. Right now, you got quite a few teams who can get there before the tournament, and that's always to me a thing that can help. But we still need to win games to get out of that 16 seed. If that's something that you kind of looking at as being, you don't want to play in the play-in game, then you need to start to win more of these games. It's starting to happen, but you still need to increase the frequency of those wins. And that's a drum we'll beat all the time, and it's the same drum we beat in football. Although we do have more success in football than we do. We do have more success in basketball than we do in football, so that's definitely something that's great to see. And I'm gonna always beat the drum about supporting basketball. I think basketball can use a little bit more funding and can make some things happen. Gonna jump back to football again. Today, FBSschedules.com, they Bethune-Cookman released their 2024 schedule. And right now, I think that's the first complete schedule that's out. I look for most of them to start to kind of come to the surface the next few weeks. I think a lot of them are probably going to come to surface around signing day. That used to be the number that got you in. Especially if you was kind of like on the bubble. 20 was always a good number to have. Now it doesn't always go that way. But I still like to use it as a mark for a really successful season. So that's why I still judge it that way. I don't know if any other people look at it that way, but that's the way I like to look at it. There's just something about that number 20 is always is a strong thing. So let's run through this schedule that Bethune-Cookman that they released. Like I said, we're looking for more people to have schedules come out in the next few weeks. That's the first thing. We need the conference to drop their master schedule ASAP. It probably should have been out. I think once you know your conference games, everything else falls into place. And with teams rotating on and off, it makes it tough sometimes to figure out who you're playing. Most years you just flip flop. If you play this team at home, then you playing them on the road. Then maybe some teams roll on, some roll off. But I think they need to drop that as soon as they can, because I think that's the first step to generating interest in the season. But Bethune-Cookman opens up on August 31st at USF. They get a home game against Mercer. That's a solid home game. That's if you're one of those people who looks at playing playing FCS opponents, non-HBCU FCS opponents, then these are the kind of games that you need. And getting them as a home game, I think that's great. that's that's what a lot of people push for, and Bethune-Cookman was able to make that happen. Um, should be an interesting game. Mercer went 9-4 this past season. They were 6-2 in the SoCon, so that's not an easy opponent coming into your stadium. But getting that game at home is definitely great. The next game they have is September 14th when they go to Western Michigan. Yeah, I heard that JSU supposed to be playing at Grambling. I'm assuming that's a non-conference game. But until we get the schedule, then that means we'll see. Yeah, Mercer was a playoff team this year, so I mean, I'm also assuming that if JSU playing Grambling this year in the non-conference, they probably not playing Southern unless they play in 2 SWAC games for non-conference, which I didn't have a lot of issues about that with Southern last year, but I don't want teams to make that a habit. So hopefully, just the one game is played, and then you go from there. But like I said, September 14th they're at Western Michigan, so they have 2 FBS games. September 21st they get Clark Atlanta at home, and that's also a reminder that this 2024 season is a 12-game season, so you get an extra game, which hopefully means extra home game. So they get 2 home games in the non-conference, 2 road games in the non-conference. September 28th, they get Bama State at home to open up conference play. They get a bye week on October 5th, so they got a pretty early bye week. They play 5 games, then they get a bye week. October 12th, they're at Alabama A&M. October 19th, they're at Valley. October 26th, they get Jackson State at home. November 2nd, they get Grambling at home. And then they have, I'm losing my voice. Then they have a 2-game trip, basically. November 9th, they're at Southern, and November 16th, they head to Houston to take on Texas Southern. And then, of course, November 23rd, they close out with the Florida Classic against Florida A&M. So pretty. I'm not a fan of 2 FBS games, so I just don't like that. But they did space them out. That Mercer game is a solid home game. I mean, that's a playoff team, so what they're returning, we'll find out. But that's a challenging home game, and then you get a D2 game at home as well. So, hey, you never know. Now the people might come to play, but I think that I think this is a pretty solid schedule. You're getting I think they got 5 home games, which is definitely good. Like I said, you want to get more home games, as many home games as you can. So 5 home games is definitely a good number. Especially I would love to have 6 in a time like this, but you can't really get that. Yeah, like I said, I don't know about multiple conference games or non-conference games. Like I say, we did it last year. Wasn't a big fan of it, but I know some of those games are games that can't be lost in terms of not playing them. So we'll see. But maybe we need to rotate divisional rivals, permanent rivals or something. I don't know. I just don't like that. So hopefully we can find a way to do away with that. Oh man, y'all missed. It looked like y'all missed the boat on Dooley, man. Dooley and Grambling, y'all should have gave him a call. But I'm interested to see what happens with that. I mean, is this a chance for him to rehab his image? I'm interested to see. They losing some guys. They had another receiver going to portal the other day, so we'll see. I will say, whoever's the quarterback at Grambling, you're in good hands because you don't have to worry about getting pulled out of the game. So if you're a quarterback, I think that's the best thing for you. Oh, he gonna do what he can do. Sometimes I think getting away from that head seat at the table might be the best bet for you. Lessen lessen the lessen your responsibilities. You know, lessen your load, and this can go either way. Now, this can go either way, man. This could be really really good, or this could be really really bad. And it's gonna be interesting to see whichever way it go. I'm gonna be tuned in whichever way it go. Um, I I don't know. Like I say, I just want to see what he do. I was surprised that he jumped that fast, but I guess opportunity fall in your lap, you got to take it. Um, yeah, he never gonna lead his never gonna lead his conference. You ain't gonna worry about that. He barely want to lead the West Division, so I think he gonna make his way around every team in the SWAC West before his time is up. Um, I think the one thing that you got to kind of look out for, to me, is you got to look out for the head coach ego. Is he gonna be able to put that aside and go back to being up under somebody else? I think that's something tough. When you've been at the front seat driving for a while, and you don't get to drive anymore, you turn the backseat driver. So is he gonna be able to put everything on the side and accept his role? That's where the key comes at. Um, but that I mean, like I say, it's gonna be a fun journey. Like I said, for 10 games, I'm gonna enjoy every bit of it. I'm not quite sure about the last game of the season, but for 10 games, I'm gonna enjoy whatever it is. Because it's one of those things that, like I say, it can be beautiful, or it could be a train wreck. And it's gonna be entertaining either way. So always, it's never boring in this league. It might be crazy, it might not be great, but it's never boring in this league. So um, that will, somebody can get some things up, and some of these departments can kind of get behind these teams and put together some of that stuff. It'd be good to see, what goes on now. Because it's always, you always want to have an idea of what's going on, you know, in the inner workings of things. Sometimes you don't really want to know how the sausage is made, because you get kind of a bad look once you know how it's made. But it's always good to kind of see that kind of stuff. That's why I like to watch like Hard Knocks and stuff like that, because I love the game, but I love the lead up to the game. I love the build up to the season. I love to see what guys do, what coaches do, how teams work. I'm a big behind the scenes type of person. Even when it comes to movies and stuff, I like to watch the behind the scenes kind of stuff almost more than I do the actual movie. Because I just like the process of everything. Music. I like to read about how an album was made. If they still even make albums. I like to just kind of do all of that stuff. Well, yeah, I mean, that guy came with a built-in media team, so it was gonna happen on that end. I think that exactly. I mean, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's in your best interest to not know, but sometimes sometimes you still want to know. And when you find out it ain't what you think, sometimes it can be disappointing. And that's where the trouble comes in at. But having that access, having that availability is something that we really should push for. And pushing for these teams to have better media coverage is something I've been doing for a minute. I stay on my team head about it. So hopefully they can start to get this thing better, because I don't like making videos to gripe about that kind of stuff. Even though I do it a bit, I don't like to do it a lot. So hopefully I don't have to do it anymore. Um, and that's that, man. So shout out to everybody who came through, man. Shout out to my peeps at Swagging the Food for coming through. Shout out to the rest of y'all for coming through, man. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. Hopefully we have a big soldier back next week, man. He under the weather, so he chilling out at home right now. But we're gonna continue to do this thing, man. And y'all, like I said, make sure y'all subscribe. And if you can, please hit that Cash App $Swag Talk. It'd be much appreciated. Like I said, we're gonna continue to bring y'all great stuff. We're gonna continue to get bigger and better. If y'all have any suggestions, just hit the email or the Twitter. Those are probably the two spots I'm more active on. Most likely is Twitter, but you got any suggestions, anything, hit the socials. Any ideas, any topics, any interviews or whatever, man, hit the socials and we'll try to make it happen. So, man, I'm gonna get on up out of here. I literally got home from work right before I came on the air, so I'm about to get out of here, man. I ain't even really sat down yet, other than at the computer. So I'm about to get up out of here, man. Enjoy the rest of my evening, man. Y'all do the same. Y'all be safe out there, and we're gonna catch y'all next week. Peace.